Hi everyone and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This will be bot number 9, which will deal with the same direction cannons, file chariot versus deferred chariot variation. I would like to express my thanks to Master Wenqing and Grandmaster Zhang for allowing me to use their work to make this video. So without further ado, let us begin. Central cannon, same direction cannons, file chariot, deferred chariot. Please do go through the previous video if you have not, where I have explained given a simple introduction to this opening system. Now again, in this board, red will play p7 plus 1, red will advance the cannon to attack, h8 plus 7, h2 plus 3, and red will continue with h7 plus 8. Now, in the previous board, h7 plus 6 was played. With h7 plus 8, red will try to hinder or slow the development of this right chariot of black, so that if the chariot were not activated, black's counter-attacking potential will be greatly decreased. Now this variation will be today's position of discussion, and it has been very popular for decades, and it can still be seen very often in tournaments and over the board play. Now, faced with this position, black would usually play two variations, either variation A, R9 plus 1, or variation B, whereby the cannon would immediately attack and capture the pawn. So now let us go through variation A. As can be seen, there's many sub-variations to be discussed. Since black had played R9 plus 1, it will probably move over here if possible. Red will usually counter with a ranked chariot of his own. Now, one of the motives of developing the chariot in this manner would be that red would try to maneuver the chariot so that it could try to dislodge this cannon or capture it. Black would play R9 equals to 4, hoping to come to the aid of the cannon if need be, and also command this very important rip file so that the horse can perhaps have the chance to cross the river to attack. Now, at this point in time, another objective of this chariot would be to play R4 plus 6 to attack the cannon and thus allow for development of the chariot. So that is why red will usually play A4 plus 5. But since A4 plus 5 was played, the chariot cannot cross over to the other side to attack. So usually black will continue C2 equals 7, and red will continue with R9 equals to 7 to attack this file. So by the 9th ply, or 8th or 9th ply, we can see that basically black would be attacking this flank. Capturing the pawn would mean that the cannon was now targeting the elephant, and this would discourage red from moving the chariot because it will lose the elephant. But red is compensated with an attack on this file, so black will be attacking this file, red will be attacking this file. Now, one thing that red can do is he can push the pawn forward, offer a trade of pawns, and then threaten the black horse immediately. Now, the horse cannot move here because this red horse would have covered this intersection. And at this point in time, how would black deal with red's p7 plus 1 threat? There are 5 variations. Now, the main line, e3 plus 1 was played. Moving the elephant will strengthen the defense of this intersection. Now, there are many other complicated variations. So, first of all, let's examine the possibility of R4 plus 5, whereby black would advance the chariot across the river, hoping to apply a fork. So, red will go ahead, push the pawn, fork, and red will now advance the horse to try to offer a trade of material. Capture, and after trading material, we can see that red's horse is now very favorably placed. It would discourage or prevent black from developing his chariot as a ranked chariot or a file chariot. Also, this chariot would now be prepared to capture the pawn for a fork to gain material. So red would have that significant advantage. Now, What about r4 plus 3 instead of r4 plus 5? Black takes a more defensive stance. The horse will attack. After capturing the pawn, red will be prepared to push the pawn across the river again to threaten the chariot. r1 equals to 2, p7 plus 1, and the black chariot will be forced to move again, thus incurring a loss of tempo. And red will play very aggressively with c8 plus 3, threatening to capture the pawn and also preventing the horse from moving to the riverbank. Red would have the significant advantage. What about c5 minus 1? And this is a commonly used tactic in similar situations, but in this particular scenario, this would be a bad idea because red can play r2 plus 8, which is a very powerful move, thus pinning the chariot and cannon. The cannon cannot move anymore. So black would usually play r1 plus 1 to link the chariots up so that his cannon can move. But before the cannon can move here, red will play r2 equals to 4, and he will command a very powerful or important intersection on the board with the chariot. So black king will be can feel the threat of the red chariot now. Black chooses to protect the horse. Otherwise, there's an option of r4 minus 1, and red would now start to attack the central file, and red would have the initiative. So perhaps black's best bet in this scenario would be to play p7 plus 1 and see how red will attack, as he will counter as accurately as possible. p7 plus 1, red would push the pawn across the river. After trading pawns, red will now threaten the horse directly. r4 plus 4, black tries to go for a trade of material, but red would not want to do so. Instead of advancing, he would retreat the horse, attack the chariot, and thus gain material, because now this would be a double attack on 2 pieces. So usually black would have to play r4 plus 1. Now, retreating the chariot to protect the horse would not only incur a loss in tempi. Red can play r7 minus 1, which is a very good move, threatening to capture the pawn and gain material. Also, r1 equals to 2 is still not viable or possible because of h8 plus 7 again. So let's say black retreated, as he wanted to prevent r7 equals to 3 from happening. If red played r7 equals to 3, black could play c5 equals to 7 and thus gains momentum. But red continues, and after capturing the offending pawn, he will now offer a trade of material, which black will place black in a dilemma. So red can counter with r2 plus 7 later on, and if black accepted the trade, red can counter with r7 plus 2, and red would have a very easy time ahead, and black would be in all sorts of trouble. So that is why r4 plus 1 is better to sacrifice the horse than to protect it. So red would now play, will capture the horse, force a trade of material. But after trading the material, the power or the threat of this pawn becomes extremely significant, because it can advance and attack the horse, also control the pawn rank. And red would have to make this move, otherwise this would be a smothered cannon checkmate. And in doing so, black would first develop his chariot, pin the cannon, so directly affecting red's cannon rank, and the threat of the pawn would advance. So black will sacrifice material to claim the initiative, and he will still have a very playable game. So the situation over here is still very complicated. So in the main line, variation A, main line, e3 plus 1 was played. Now at this point in time, red will play p5 plus 1, preparing to play r7 plus 2. A very important move to make, a4 plus 5. Not only would it beef up the central file, it would also allow for the chariot to be developed as a kingside chariot. And red must not be hasty and try to play r7 plus 2 at this point in time. Instead, he should play h8 plus 7. If he played r7 plus 2, the pawn will protect the cannon. Black could link the chariots up. Let's say if red tried to capture the threaten the chariot, black would simply force a trade of material. So black will wrestle away the initiative from red. So r7 plus 2 is not a good idea because red had not dealt with the issue of the other pieces. So h8 plus 7 is advocated. And since red did not play, red was now prepared to play r7 plus 2, black could push his chariot across the river to command this very important rank. If he played r1 equals to 2, black would now immediately, time is ripe to dislodge the black cannon, capture the central cannon. So black's defenses are now in disarray. Move the cannon to safety. And now start to attack the central. Now notice that the elephants are not linked, so if black captured the pawn, red would capture, deliver a check and gain some more material. Let's say black tried to offer a trade of chariots to relieve some stress. Red would refuse and simply play r7 equals to 5, where the horse would now, if black accepted, the horse would now capture it and be ready to go, and this will solve the predicament of underdevelopment of the red horse. So red will have the initiative in this situation. So r4 plus 5, p7 plus 1, red attacks, preparing to capture the cannon and push the pawn forward. If the elephant captures, red would have traded his pawn and gained an elephant. r1 equals to 2, p7 equals to 8. The pawn just makes it in the nick of time to this position. Now, the cannon will now be threatening the chariot, and black can only play r2 equals to 3. He cannot play, he cannot capture the pawn, otherwise, after trading material, this is a possible line from computer analysis. Red will now capture the elephant, threaten the horse, and also have an attack going on the central file. Whereas black's, although the 3 black pieces are already across the board, but it will still take black some effort and time to try to organize a effective attack. So red would have a advantage at this point. Now let us go to variation B, whereby c2 equals to 7 is played immediately and black attacks the elephant with this move. Red will usually play r9 plus 1 for a very proactive approach. In the past, sometimes e3 plus 1 was played, but this is considered to be very weak, as black could develop the chariot as a rank chariot and command this important line. As can be seen, suddenly red's right flank will become congested and black can be very satisfied with this situation. So r9 plus 1, black will offer a trade of material to relieve some stress. 2 plus 9. After capturing the elephant to deliver a check, black then captures the chariot. The pawn is now ready to cross the river. Now it will be advisable for red at this time to play r9 equals to 6. The reason for this move is that black had not developed his right chariot yet, and from the looks of things, only developing the chariot as a rank chariot is possible. With this move, red would now threaten to play an r6 plus 7 to attack the horse, and thus further limit the development of the chariot. Now, one cannon cannot do much at this point, and both colors will be still ahead, and red will still have the initiative as he will control the situation. Now, if he had what about attacking the file as seen in variation A, the 7th file? This would not be a good idea at this point in time because black would be allowed to develop the chariot, and once it were allowed to, if the chariot were allowed to be developed, black would gladly sacrifice the horse as he tries to mount an attack over here. So black will be poised to launch a very powerful offensive. So red cannot be without his worries, and black will still have a very playable situation. So r9 equals 6 was advocated in the book. c5 equals to 9. Black will counter by doubling down the pressure on this flank, and also if red played h6 plus 7, he could link the elephants up and attack the chariot. So red will play r6 plus 3 to prevent the pawn from crossing the river. Black would develop his horse. Red prepares for a fork, so black ups his defenses, and red would push the horse to the riverbank. So at this point in time, black would have gained an elephant and a cannon that was attacking, and a lone cannon that was attacking the bottom rank, which cannot do much at the moment. So both colors would pester each other, and red would be, but the red's major pieces are very well developed, and overall red would have this advantage. So let us review this board from the eyes of black. Okay, same direction cannons. Filed versus Deferred Chariot, p7 plus 1. And this would be the position of discussion, the external rib horse, whereby the combination of the cannon and the horse would discourage the chariot from developing. Black would usually play r9 plus 1 for variation A. Variation B would be c2 equals to 7. r9 plus 1, red counters likewise, r9 equals to 4, a4 plus 5, a very important move to make, otherwise red will play, let's say, if red played this move, black would play this move, and red will be all sorts of trouble. c2 equals to 7, r9 equals to 7 to attack this file, and this will lead to a very complicated situation. 5 variations were given, 5 sub-variations. 1 variation and 4 sub-variations were given. e3 plus 1 was the main line. If r4 plus 5, red will gain an advantage after trading material. If r4 plus 3, again, red would gain a significant advantage. If r5 minus 1, red would have this very nice move of pushing the chariot across the river, forcing the chariots to be linked, and red would now occupy a very powerful intersection, and red would have the initiative. Perhaps black's best bet, as suggested by the authors, would be to play p7 plus 1, and after trading material, black could sacrifice the horse and be compensated with a powerful attack, attacking red's left flank, which is a little bit disorganized and scattered. So e3 plus 1, black plays p5 plus 1, threatening to push the chariot to attack the cannon. a4 plus 5, and he will do so after making this move. So black cannot allow this to happen, and he will play r4 plus 5, p7 plus 1. And at this point in time, this will be an intertwined and complicated situation. Variation B, c2 equals to 7, r9 plus 1 will be a good idea. e3 plus 1 too passive, and black will gain momentum. r9 equals to 8. After trading material, red would gain an elephant, but red will be able to attack with his chariot. Now r9 equals 7 is not as good because it will allow black to develop the chariot as a rank chariot to attack. c5 equals to 9. both colors adjust their position. Both colors adjust their 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 formations, and it will be a complicated situation where both colors are pestering each other, and black will still have a playable game. So I hope you enjoyed this short video. These are some of the basic issues that have to be dealt with when playing the deferred variation, deferred chariot variation as black. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, which as much as I have done, because I play the deferred variation occasionally and it's quite fun. So if you like the work I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you, and have a good weekend ahead.